Hi, I'm John Morrison, and you're watching the Money in the Bank show. Now go, feel the power of money.
We are here at Farniente. Four Horsemen Films and Farniente have tag teamed for the Money in the Bank show. I'm Andre Gordon at Directed by Dre.
I'm John Roca at The Roca Says.
And this is our WrestleMania special show.
WrestleMania!
And we have a guest here.
Woo!
A very special guest. The one and only.
I'm John Morrison at The Real Morrison.
Yeah!
Is that what we do here?
That's what we do. That's what
We introduce ourselves and give our Twitter handles. I like this.
Just in case.
All right.
We're retweeting the show right now. All right, guys. So, John, we just want to start out and just start at the beginning of your life. You know, like as far as wrestling goes. What even got you into wrestling? What did you decide? Like, okay, you know what? I want to be a wrestler. What made that happen?
You know, when I was a kid, like most kids are young, you get into wrestling, and I was a huge fan of Hulk Hogan growing up. He was the first person that caught my eye, to be honest. Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and I used to watch wrestling every Saturday with my buddies, and then after wrestling, we'd go out in the driveway or somebody's backyard and put each other in Boston Crabs and clutches, have our own Royal Rumbles. And I wanted to be a wrestler at that time. You know, when I was 7 years old, 8 years old, 9, 10 years old, I was wrestling with my friends. We were watching like SummerSlam, Mania, Survivor Series, the Big Four, going over to each other's houses, watching it all the time. And I think at that age knew, like in my mind, 100% that I wanted to be a wrestler. And I also at that age wanted to be Superman. and then you get a little bit older and you realize I didn't think of it as a legitimate career path. Yeah. I got into high school. I wrestled in high school because I was a fan of professional wrestling, and I stopped thinking about being a pro wrestler. I thought of it more as a childhood dream, something that I was a huge fan of as a kid. Yeah. And then I got into high school and I started, you know, playing sports, getting into girls, and thinking that people graduate from high school and they go to college and then they have a career, and that's what my mindset was. And then eventually, when I was in college, I'd been training for a career as a stunt guy, an action actor, kind of like Jackie Chan, who's a huge hero of mine.
You and Jackie look alike.
Very, very similar, right? Can't say anything ever bad about Jackie Chan. No. That man would kill everybody in this room with his finger.
That's true.
But he had a big influence on me, just like Hogan and Shawn Michaels and Macho Man, and that's what I wanted to do. And when I saw that show Tough Enough on MTV, it just kind of clicked for me. Everything all of a sudden I was like, oh wait a minute, I've been training for this specifically. Right. All the performance, all the movement, the acting classes I've been taking, like the gymnastics, the martial arts, the jiu-jitsu, the boxing. It's pretty much all wrapped up into this thing that I loved when I was a kid, professional wrestling. Right. And that's when I officially set my sights on getting into Tough Enough, and whether I was on that show or not, I was going to train to be a pro wrestler.
Well, you bring up a good point, because Tough Enough 3, that's the one you want, because you initially applied for Tough Enough 2 but didn't get in, right. And then you got into Tough Enough 3 and then went all the way and actually won. So what was it like for you to actually have everything culminate for you to win, and then, you know, they got you into the inside track of the contract, go to Ohio Valley Wrestling. What was that like for you, like to have that dream come true now? At that time,
pretty baller.
Yeah.
It was, right. Yeah, it was, you know, it was amazing. In between, it worked out perfectly. Like not getting into Tough Enough 2, I think, was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Made you work harder.
Yeah, like I applied for Tough Enough 2. In between, I started training at a place in Sacramento called Supreme Pro Wrestling. Oh yeah. And I learned a lot about just like the business and the passion that those people had, like the Big Ugly, El Flaco Loco, Kryptonite, you know, Wicked, Jesus Cruz, all those guys in Sacramento that are like training, like to train there, you'd have to set up the ring every day and break the ring down every day.
I read that.
And they would do that. Like and I would do it too. We'd show up, we'd set the ring up in this theater, the Colonial Theater in Sacramento. Right. We'd set the ring up. It took an hour. We'd practice for 2 hours. We'd take the ring down and put it back behind the theater and store it.
And paid his dues, people. paid his dues.
Well,
Rented his dues. Rented his dues.
paid dues for a little bit, but it definitely doing that, having that experience, I think, let me get an inside look at like how passionate these people are, who are independent wrestlers, who are wrestling fans, and the type of lives that people like Ed, you said you had on the show before.
Yeah.
Like what he had to go through, and Christian, and a lot of the guys. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all these guys that have been lifelong fans of wrestling.
And you know what we're going to do? When we come back, we're going to talk about what it was like to get the call, the phone call, that you're going to the WWE. We'll be back after this. We are back on the Money in the Bank show with John Morrison, and we are going to talk about what it was like when the phone rang. And hey, you're coming up to the big show. You're coming up to the dance. Tell us about that. What was that moment like?
The phone call specifically from when I was in Louisville in Ohio Valley Wrestling to get basically let known that we were all going up to the big show.
Yeah.
It was
I had a couple. Like the first time I went up to the big show, I was Eric Bischoff's apprentice.
That's right.
Johnny Nitro.
That's right.
And that happened at a TV taping. I was at a TV taping in I think it was Columbus, and all the whole Ohio Valley Wrestling roster was there, and like we always went to the TV tapings that were close to Louisville. So Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, even though Cleveland's like 5 hours. But at this specific TV taping, I had been pulled into John Laurinaitis' office. And he said, "Yeah, Mr. John Laurinaitis said, hey kid, we think we might have something for you. We're gonna start bringing you to the TVs." And
awesome.
I was super excited. I didn't know what he meant. And when he explained what the character they had in mind for me was gonna be, I was not as excited.
I remember.
To be honest, because I had my sights set on wrestling. I wanted to be a wrestler. I didn't want to be an on-screen like manager type talking only character at the time.
Right.
So I was excited regardless, but secretly deep down I was like, shit.
Yeah, because you've done all that training, all that wrestling training, and then all the stuff you were working on. You wanted that to be out in front.
Right. And now, like in retrospect, like what an opportunity that is.
Yeah.
To be an on-screen character, to be able to talk and develop your personality. At the time, I didn't really appreciate that. And I think what ended up happening again worked out for the best. I had a run for about 6 months as Johnny Nitro. I had one match specifically with Chris Jericho. Me and Eugene versus Jericho and Garrison Cade, and I was wearing my business pants, like my slacks and my slippery shoes, and pretty much all I had to do the whole match was like make a save, and Jericho was covering Eugene, and all I had to do was run in and save.
Right.
And I slipped and like split Jericho open. Like I just caught him with my forearm, like right on the corner of his eye. He ended up getting like 7 stitches.
Was he cool with it?
Not really. Yeah, not really. Like
I wouldn't be either.
He was super pissed actually, and I don't blame him. You know,
Right.
Here's like this kid. All he has to do is make a save, and he busts you open. And we laugh about it now though. He's totally fine with it. It was an honest mistake, a stupid mistake.
Right.
But
But those things happen in the ring, right?
They do.
Professional, I mean, like newbie or experienced professional, that happens in the ring.
They do, and if I was in his position and like somebody split me open and I needed 7 stitches, I would be pretty pissed too.
Yeah, right.
It was a fluke accident, and I think that that incident combined with like just like me really wanting to be a wrestler led to me getting sent back down to OVW. And repackaged, which was for the best because that's when we developed M&M. Me, Joey Mercury, and Melina started doing M&M on OVW TV. Yeah,
and you guys have an amazing legacy with that because your first match when you came back up, you won the tag team championships, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So
first match coming back up.
That call was the call that felt like the call that I think you're talking about, like
talk about that.
Like the butterflies and like the excitement, and you're finally like all this hard work that we've done for these past like 3 years in developmental is coming to fruition. Right. That call, because that was the group that we developed, so the 3 of us together.
Right.
We filmed vignettes and they aired on like Louisville TV that I filmed and edited with my camera.
Wow.
I love that. I love that.
And a lot of people said that was a big compliment we got, that we went the extra mile. And they tried to change our faction up because Joey didn't have a contract at the time, and they asked if we wanted to go up, me, Melina, and like somebody else or a couple different people, and we kept saying no, it has to be Joey, and ultimately it was the right decision because Joey just his mind was he's a genius at wrestling psychology, and so it was pretty cool to have him be a mentor type, but also a cool like friend type guy. Because a lot of times mentors are a little bit douchey. And Joey was awesome, and we were the same age. So riding together, we had a lot in common, and it felt like a true like clique, like a true team.
Right. Well, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna send John and John down to stop that vacuum cleaner right at Wrestling Road. And then we're gonna get back with our next segment on the Money in the Bank show.
Welcome back to the Money in the Bank show and our special guest, John Morrison, aka Johnny Nitro. We've got him here on the show. We want to move on. Now, Eminem was an awesome tag team, but they broke up eventually, and you went on an IC title run with Melina as your manager. Can you talk about that?
At the time, it was pretty awesome to have an on-screen and off-screen relationship with Melina.
Right.
And we after Eminem split up. Joey had some personal demons he had to deal with, brother, and I ended up doing a singles run with Melina. We had some really good feuds with Jeff Hardy.
Right.
And that was in that time the first time I had a ladder match was versus Jeff on an episode of Monday Night Raw. And
that's right. Yeah.
It was
Those ladder matches, man, were awesome.
Totally, and it was one of the things that I remember thinking at the time. Like every once in a while, you have one of those moments right before you walk out where you're like, holy shit. About to have a ladder match with Jeff Hardy. And so that whole run was amazing, and I feel like I really grew a lot as a performer having the singles run. Right. And I say this is true a lot of times. When you're in a tag team, all you want to do is be a singles competitor. and then when you're a singles competitor, you start thinking about like all the tag team stuff. That you could be doing.
And speaking of that, you moved into the next tag team, which was with The Miz, right? And that this is when I became a mad fan of John Morrison.
I would tell you, this whole thing with you and The Miz made me wish I had hair to have that slow blowing hair. I tried growing it out when I walk out of the shower, but it just didn't happen. Tell us about that tag team and that whole
Rocky doesn't have hair, and he has it for Hercules, right?
That's right.
Probably
I'll call
hit up his costume department.
Rock, will you come on the show next? I'll call you, Rock.
That's right. Oh my God.
We'll get him up here. Yeah.
That's Dwayne Johnson.
He's not busy.
He's got 20 minutes.
So me and The Miz ended up being, I think, like a perfect tag team because we were very similar in our sense of humor, and we could ride together and just like bust on the whole locker room, and a lot of the things that we thought was funny, we both had in common.
Right.
But aside from that, I think his energy is very loud and abrasive and annoying. A lot of people think. My energy a lot of times is a little bit more like soft-spoken and a little bit more of like a quiet confidence. And when you put those two together, I thought what we had was really great chemistry.
It really was.
And who came up with pairing you guys together? Was that something that you guys had like?
It wasn't my idea.
Into? Wasn't really?
No, I'm just kidding. It was the office's idea. It was something that I think both of us were floating, and when we ended up getting paired together, it was really the best thing that could have happened for both of our careers.
Yeah.
And I think we made more out of that than anybody expected, and it really worked well for both of us. And I think that was the first time that I personally, based off The Miz, like as his personality, his persona, was able to really like get to the next level of riffing and being myself on camera. And I think the thing that did that for us the most was the dirt sheet.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that whole angle, like, you know, I'm a very tough critic when it comes to watching. I mean, we watch wrestling since we were kids, just like you were.
Just like you.
Right.
You guys won me over. At first, I was like, oh, what is this? What is it? And I was like, okay,
right.
All right, I'm in. I dig it. So I'm really impressed with that whole angle and how you guys carried that out.
Appreciate it, man. And the thing with shows is if you watch the first episode of anything, like the first episode of Seinfeld even, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it takes some time.
Yeah, right? And at the end of the day, I think we ended up doing almost 80 episodes of The Dirt Sheet. Yeah, which means every week we would be in the car writing an episode, and every time we get to TV, we'd have to get to TV and go to pre-tapes and force the Brooklyn Brawler to put all of his pre-tapes work aside, basically, and shoot The Dirt Sheet. And we usually have an hour.
Woo.
And so it was just kind of added to our workload and made us think like producers and think about who we are personality-wise.
Right.
In basically not even only in the ring, but in front of the camera while in a sitting conversational talk show type segment.
Well, you know, speaking of producing, I know that you're producing a lot right now and you're acting. What we're going to do is we're going to stop. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we are going to talk about what you're doing now as an actor and a producer in Hollywood on the Money in the Bank show. We'll be back. We are back on the Money in the Bank show with John Morrison.
Woo!
And listen, John and I, we used to watch wrestling in college at AJ Sports.
Yep.
Every pay-per-view, every show, we would go to the shows and we would hang out and we would check it out. And we went there for acting. So we appreciate the acting that goes into wrestling.
It's performance.
It is
Absolutely.
performance.
Yeah.
And people don't necessarily make the connection. So I know we were talking about like, oh man, as actors, we could do wrestling. Tell us about how that's helped you now as an actor. Now you're doing on camera, now you're doing producing. How has that helped you in your acting life now?
Before we start that, I want to just point one thing out that I like that you guys did. At the beginning of the Money in the Bank show, you guys hit that, it's the Money in the Bank show at the same time, which I thought was really cool. And it was something that Miz and I did with the greatest tag team of the 21st century.
Yes.
I think anytime you hit something in unison, like it's a cool energy. It brings a cool energy to things.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's I mean something that like I don't know if you guys got that from wrestling or just got that from like stuff that you like to do because it's fun, but there are a lot of things that I've taken from wrestling to acting. And if you think about wrestling as a live performance, you could look at it as you have to be larger than life. That's the whole point
theater
of
in the round.
wrestling. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So you're performing for the person who's sitting in row 1 of Madison Square Garden, but also for the person in the nosebleeds, sitting all the way back. They have to be able to see your pain. They have to be able to see everything that you're doing. So everything has to be really big.
Yeah.
And living in the moment, being angry, being excited, being happy to win a championship, that's performing. That's acting. Right. The amount of movement and excitement that you have has to be changed, certainly for on-camera stuff.
Right. True.
When I first started as Johnny Nitro, Triple H used to call me Johnny Oversell. Because
leave it to Triple H.
To come up with a clever nickname like Johnny Oversell. But I did because when I would be excited for stuff, I would be really excited and really happy and like I would just be huge because I thought that's what you had to do to sell stuff. But even on WWE TV, they have cameras, and especially now they've got HD cameras that come in and get stuff. So the acting performances, I would say, now in current day wrestling, have the ability to be a lot more subtle than they did in the 80s.
I was telling John the other day, one of the things I noticed, when you can see the actor really making the shift, I call him the actor because it's a wrestling as an actor.
Yeah.
In the match that goes 10, 15 minutes, when the count is 1, count is 2, you can see the actors who are really seasoned after that long match kicking out with just a little bit of energy, like they had nothing left, as opposed to the wrestler who kicks out with a ton of energy, but they're still really down on that 2 count. Just these little subtle nuances of when to show, like, okay, I can barely get the arm up, or I can barely make the tag, or I'm really getting excited.
Right.
Those things we've seen that transition in a lot of wrestlers, and I thought you did a really great job of progressing in that towards your last
that
run.
Specific, like, learning when and how much to sell is the thing I think in wrestling that takes the longest and is the most important. Because when and how much to sell depends on how far in the match you are and who you're wrestling against. Everything is a factor, and the crowd factors into it too. Because if you're in a live event scenario, you might need to kick out really big.
Right.
It might be that moment. It might be that thing that people want to see. Like, our guy's still alive.
Exactly.
Let's see John Morrison do a comeback,
Yeah.
or whatever that moment is.
Well, it's interesting that people make fun of wrestling, which is something that I just.
Who makes fun of wrestling?
Who does that?
Who said that?
But they don't
Vacuum cleaner guy down there. Yeah.
But it's interesting to see because that's the thing that you learn, right? As you get better, as you get more seasoned as a professional, you're riding the crest of the wave of the audience. You're having to do it with another person in the ring, and a lot of these matches people don't know are improv. Some of them are sketched out, but some of them are just brushstroked like big brush strokes, so that and the smaller stuff is kind of come up on the fly between you guys, and that's something you've got to learn as you go along. And you know, that's definitely something that I thought we both think you progressed on and got amazing about. You were getting shots at the strap, the big strap, and there's a reason for that, right? You were doing that. Really well.
That brushstroke metaphor, I think, is a great one.
Yeah.
Because it's I think the best matches have a lot of improv. Because there's just moments all the time that you can't plan.
Yeah.
And if you pretend like you didn't hear something or you didn't see something, everyone knows you missed an opportunity.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the crowd might not be able to articulate it, but they know, you know.
Yeah.
And being able to capitalize that and hearing it is just an important skill.
That stuff, Rick, really clicks in, and it brings me to like taking advantage of opportunity. You know, we have a few minutes left. I just wanted to talk about your opportunities now, what you're doing on cameras and action. Tell us what are the next phases of life for you as you're pursuing acting and producing and
So,
what's going on with you?
Since let's see, since I left, I've done 5 feature films now. The last 2 I've been in, I was the lead. They're all fairly low budget.
That's fine.
Work is work.
In August, I shot a low budget rom-com called Dangerous Games.
Nice.
And I played Rick Rainsford, who was hunted by 2 evil Russian dudes. Me and a girl were hunted. She hated me at first because I was an egotistical reality show deer hunter. But then she fell for my charms by the end of the movie.
Who wouldn't?
Ooh, didn't want to ruin the movie for you guys. But anyway, you should watch it anyway. The last thing I did in February, I shot a Hercules movie.
Oh yeah.
And I played the role of Hercules in Asylum's I Am Hercules or Legend of Hercules. The title is going to be forthcoming, but it's gonna come out a week before the Rock's Hercules movie comes out.
Watch out, Dwayne.
Boom.
Watch out.
I'm gonna bring it. And it's pretty amazing when I'm thinking about what we achieved on a low budget with a group of hardworking people with the amount of time and money that we had. And I think it's going to be a really cool movie. The story, I believe, is very authentic to the original Greek myth. It's a dark and real Hercules. There's some comedic moments, but the action is real. There's a lot of pro wrestling in the action because there wasn't a lot of time for a fight choreography ahead of time.
Yeah.
So there were days when I would show up and I was just fighting Moroccan guys that didn't speak English, and some of them weren't even stunt guys. You know.
It's our Friday night. Yeah.
They're like, all right, John, you got to kill 40 guys.
Well, let's do this, John. As we're wrapping up the show, we're going to throw out a couple words, or a word association.
Yeah.
You let us know what first pops into your head.
Okay,
All right?
let's do it.
WCW.
Nitro.
John Cena.
Hardworking.
Everybody says that.
Hardworking.
Well, you notice they didn't say talented.
Yes!
See?
That's what I've been saying.
You've made his day. If you watch our show, you just made his day.
He works hard, but come on.
If you would just be honest,
I knew we had a lot in common. You know?
if he would just be like he's on Total Divas, I think he'd be great. Anyway, all right. Your turn. What did you? Oh no.
It's you.
CM Punk. Oh.
There's a lot of words that come to mind when I think
Okay.
CM Punk. I'm just
Okay.
trying to think of one.
Okay.
Ice cream.
Wait.
Okay, I have it. Explain.
Oh yes, please.
The good thing about word association is it can just be a vague concept. It could be because he's got a tattoo of ice cream.
I thought about that.
Okay.
It could be because he likes to eat ice cream.
Yes.
And doesn't work out as much as some people want to. It could be because in wrestling, a term that is thrown around frequently is everybody likes different flavors of ice cream. And he is a very specific flavor of ice cream that a lot of people love and some people don't like. Could be because he demanded those ice cream pops be brought back.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ice cream things going on with CM
Brilliant.
Punk.
Love
Okay.
it.
Okay. Return.
Inevitable.
Nice. Right, because you are a multiple-time IC champion, tag team champion, one-time ECW champion, beat CM Punk. So you have an amazing resume. So are you trying to get back in to wrestling? What is your plan? Do you have a plan now at this point?
Well, my the thing with wrestling for me, and it always has been, is there's nothing really more fun than wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up loving it. I did it for 10 years, and I left because I had neck surgery and I was starting to fall apart, and I wasn't really happy with how it was being used creatively. And instead of turning into one of those bitter guys that hangs out forever and just starts stewing and getting angry about everything, I wanted to leave while I was still really happy with my career and my health. And I feel like I made the right move because I feel better physically now than I did before I left. My head is clear. I'm not bitter. I love the business. I always have. I'm not jealous and bitter about like the young guys stealing my push like some people get. And I think that when the time is right, I'm going to return. I'm in good terms with the office and with everybody in WWE, and it's definitely something that I miss. I miss performing, and I'm gonna get back eventually. I just don't know specifically when.
Right. Well, folks, you heard it here on the Money in the Bank show. It was John and Dre talking shop. We got the lowdown. Make sure you check out this week's episode as we move into WrestleMania 30.
WrestleMania!
Which I'm sure you're going to check out, or what do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, never miss a WrestleMania.
That's right. Never miss a WrestleMania. And never miss an episode of the
Money in the Bank show.
I love that you did it with us.
Yeah.
I heard it the first time.
Yeah, see?
Thanks for tuning in, guys.